on in the order that your hand goes up. And if you do not know how to raise your hand, it's down at the very bottom under reactions. And if you can't figure it out, just like wave your hands. So, all right, with that said, it is my honor to welcome somebody that has been part of the Sober Tribe for a pretty good long time. And as I always say, it's such an, oh God, it's just so exciting to hear somebody, especially somebody that has so much experience, so much strength, and so much hope of almost 20 years to put their whole story together. We got a whole 4 minutes to share, 5 if you're Jim on our meeting nights. And so, yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. And it's hard when you got, say you get 30 minutes a week, but you still don't get that whole story. And so I have heard that this is a phenomenal story, which I think we all have a phenomenal one, but having 20 years, you got a whole lot more in there. So, Marty, we thank you so much for your service tonight. And I am not going to talk any longer. I'm going to just throw it over to you, brother. Thank you so very much. All right. I just hit the ask you to unmute button. Did it pop? There you go.
Okay. Thanks, Stephanie. Hi, everybody. I'm Marty. I'm an alcoholic. Boy, I don't know what to say after that introduction. Holy cow. I got sober June 14th, 2001. Boy, what a road it was to get there. To qualify, I just couldn't live life without. And I didn't understand why you'd want to, really. I had no idea that everything that I was going to go through up to the day I walked through the doors was a direct result of my drinking and drug use. But I didn't ever like put that, like own that, I always had a different excuse. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. The cops were always watching me. It was my mom's fault. It was your fault. Whoever's fault. And it wasn't until I walked through the doors that I learned that everything that happened up to that point was my fault. I started drinking when I was 9 years old. I had an older brother. He was almost 4 years older than me, and I always wanted to hang out with him and his friends and do cool shit with them. And they were home one day, and my mom was gone, and so we got into her liquor cabinet, and I overindulged, and they had to take me to the hospital and get my stomach pumped. And something with that, just, I didn't love the stomach pumping, but I loved that feeling. I loved that, I don't know, just that whole euphoria from behind it. And I took off and running from there, and continued, sneaking. Obviously, when we're that young, we can't just get booze, anytime. So whenever I could, I did. And by the time I was 14 years old, I was shooting dope intravenously, and I was in full-blown addiction, and I lived that way, for 24 years. I lived that way. I was running and gunning constantly, and in and out of jail and juvenile homes, and still never ever thought that I had a problem. I never thought that, and and there's a whole lot of shit in between that went down that we all know that story. We've all been there. Something led us to the room. So, I can skip the whole drunkalog and all of that. But my brother passed away in 93 from this disease. And I took that and I ran with that as my excuse to use even more. And by this time I'm selling drugs. I'm doing the whole thing. And I used his death as a reason to get loaded. And I dove in even deeper, you know, and thinking back when I tell you that that I had a pint of whiskey in my back pocket and a needle hanging out of my neck, man, that's no bullshit. That's how I ended up. And I got arrested in 94 for conspiracy to possess and deliver methamphetamine, marijuana, and cocaine. And they sent me to a federal prison. And I thought while I was there, maybe I have a problem. You know, I've been in and out my whole life. So I remember thinking in there, they had a program in there that would give you like 6 months off your sentence if you voluntarily took this program. And so I took it, and of course I'm hearing things, you know, and so I thought, well, maybe I do got a problem. And so I ended up having to give the feds 9 years of my life. And I got out and I experimented a little bit more. And I dove right back into it. You know, I'm drinking and doing dope. And I immediately, you know, I know how to make money. So I start selling dope again. And there was this guy who owed me some money for this whole deal. And I had gotten in trouble with the feds on my parole, and they sent me to this halfway house. Well, then they let me out. They said, you've done your time, just get out of here. So I go back to my hometown and I see this guy. And by now I think like, okay, I've got to stop doing drugs, and I can't drink because it leads me back to drugs. And so I see this guy that owes me this money, and I tell him, I said, you know, I'm clean now. I'm doing really good. I've got this apartment and I need you to pay me my money. And he's like, well, I don't have no money. And I was like, well, that's okay. Just come to Walmart and steal this surround sound system for me. And it's because I'm setting up my apartment because I'm clean now. You know, I'm doing good things. And here I am asking this dude to steal this surround sound for me. And so he goes in to Walmart. I show him what it is, and he goes in and he doesn't come out. And I'm like sitting outside waiting. Pretty soon the doors fly open on the truck, and these guys are like, come with me. And so I go into this room in Walmart, and this guy looks up at me from in this little room, and they said, is this him? And he's like, yeah, that's him. And I was like, son of a bitch, you know, I'm busted. And so they take me to jail, and I'm sitting in county jail in a little town called Farmington, New Mexico. I'm sitting in this jail cell thinking, man, I've hit rock bottom. I really have hit the bottom of my life. And so I sat there for a few weeks, and they came to me and said that they were going to violate me and send me back as a habitual offender. And this time I had to go to a state prison. And I can remember sitting there thinking, how am I going to go back to prison? Oh, my charges were at this time conspiracy to shoplift. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world am I going to go back to prison and tell the guys on the yard that I'm in there for shoplifting? I've been doing time my whole life, and you don't tell the guys on the yard you're there for shoplifting. So I come up with these huge, because I'm a liar and a cheat and a thief, you know, and so I come up with this whole thing that I'm going to say to people, like, you know, attempted murder, or, you know, I don't know, all these crazy charges, because I can't tell these guys I'm in there for shoplifting. So anyway, I go back to this prison, and I get out 14 months later, and I while I was in that prison, I made up my mind that I needed help. I needed something to help me. And through all of my years of using and boozing, the judge would say, go to these meetings for, you know, 3 months, or do this or do that. So I always had to get a court paper signed. So when I get out, I knew that I was going to have to do that. And I went to my parole officers, and she went through the whole spiel about everything. And I was getting ready. We were done. And I was getting ready to leave. And I said, hey, do you need me to get one of them court papers signed or anything like that? And she looked at me and she shook her head and she said, no. She said, you've been doing this your entire life. You know what you need to do. And she said, you can either go back to prison, die, or you can get clean. And something in the way that she said it and how she said it really just confirmed to me that, like, I needed to get clean. And so I got a list from her of meetings, and I picked one on that list, and I went to this meeting and I didn't know a soul there. And I walked through the door and I hated it, man. I hated it. I've been, like I said, I've been in and out of rehabs and jails. So I didn't want to have to sit in meetings for the rest of my life. I know people that sit in meetings for the rest of their life, And so I was like thinking, if I just go for a little bit, then I'll learn how they do it. Because not only did I come to terms with being a liar, a cheat, and a thief, but I also thought that I was really, really smart. I mean, all of my life I'm in and out of jail, so I wasn't too smart, but I thought I was. And so I thought, if they could just teach me how to stay sober, and I could hear someone in that meeting is going to share the secret, and then I'll just capitalize on that, and I won't have to go to meetings, and I won't have to hang around with losers like you. And, I'll just, I'll figure it out. And so this meeting hall is just like all the meeting halls we go to, 4 corners. And I picked a corner where I could see the door at all times with my back in the corner. And I would watch everybody who came in and out of that door. And I can remember just sitting there thinking, fuck, man, I hate you people. This thing is a cult, that when people may be like, keep coming back and one day at a time and all of this. And I'm like, fuck you. I just need the secret here. And so, I'm watching, and I'm sitting there watching people, and something happened, in this time where I didn't hate all of you. I hated some of you at this point, but I didn't hate all of you. And there was a few of you that I thought was just okay, And so I can remember they would say, let go and let God. And I'm like, that's it. Now I'm back to hating all of you because I don't want to hear about your God. I mean, my thought process was, if there was this loving, caring, higher power who just loved me so much and was so kind, then why am I a junkie? Why am I an alcoholic? Why did I struggle for 24 years of my life? And so I just wasn't buying into the God thing. But I still hadn't heard the secret yet either. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and I keep listening to these guys. And there was this one guy in particular that he was an old dirty biker dude. And he had that one of them real long rat tail things down his back, and wore his colors to the meeting and this and that. And I didn't like him either, but he was spiritual, and I could tell he was spiritual, just how he talked. And so I kind of started to like this guy a little bit, but I still didn't want to hear the God thing. I was starting to I was starting to like meetings. I was starting to feel safe in meetings, you know, but I wasn't cool with that God shit still. And so I was watching this guy, his name's Roy, and we went on for a little bit and they kept talking about sponsors. You got to get a sponsor, got to get a sponsor. And I thought, well, number one, I'm not telling anybody in this cult my deep, dark secrets. And number two, I really don't like nobody enough that I want to spend hours with them, you know? And so I just keep listening to these meetings because, like I said, I felt safe in there for that 1 hour. Never one time in any meeting did I see anybody come in and get loaded, you know, even for just that hour. So anyway, I'm watching this guy and I'm listening to that sponsorship, and I caught him after the meeting one night and I said, hey, we have coffee with me, Roy? And I could tell by the look on his face that he was like, oh, fuck. He didn't like me. I didn't like him. And, but he said, yeah. He said, I'll have coffee with you. And some of you guys have heard this story, but so I meet him down at this Village Inn, and I'm sitting there waiting for him, and he comes walking up, his fucking little rat tail thing bouncing all over, and he walks up to the table and he said, what do you want? And I said, well, I've been listening pretty close in meetings, and they say that you need to get a sponsor and you're him. And he looked at me and he said, oh, really? And I said, yeah, you know, I really don't like all them other fuckers in there, but I like you, you know, I mean, I can see you're a spiritual dude. And he sits down and he straight up told me, he says, I'll be honest, I don't think you got a snowball's chance in hell of staying sober. He said, but I'll give it a shot. And I was depleted. I was like a little kid sitting there at Village Inn, like my lip fucking sticks out. And I'm like, you know, head down. And I said, all right, well, so what do I need to do? And he said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, you need to go home, go to bed, get up in the morning and make your bed, and then go to work. And I was livid pissed. I was fucking mad. I was like, listen, I don't need help cleaning my house. I don't need that kind of fucking guidance. I've been in prison my whole entire life. I know how to make my bed. And he just kind of shaking his head, you know, and I said, why? Why is it that this is what you want me to do? He said, normal people get home from work, eat dinner, go to bed, get up in the morning, make their bed, and they go to work. That's what normal people do. And if you can do that for a little bit, then maybe you have a chance. And I got it, man. It stuck. I got it. I understood what he was saying. And to this fucking day, my bed is made daily. And, you know, I know we're not supposed to crosstalk, but Jim and Saya, they give me shit about that, you know, but it's a fact. When I started dating my wife and we decided things were getting kind of serious or whatever, you know, we're going to move in together, I asked her, I said, do you make your bed every day? She looks at me all fucking weird, like what a weird question, you know? And she said, well, most days. And I said, most days ain't going to work, man. It's got to be every day. And she makes the bed. If I don't make it, she makes it. You know, it's just our only one agreement that we had, you know? And so anyway, you know, I sat around for a little while longer with this dude, and I stuck real close to him. And like I said, I at this point in my life, there was no God. And everybody keeps talking about God still, and I had told Roy that I think that I could stay clean and sober without this God that you guys talk about. And he said, he explained the higher power thing to me and in detail, and it didn't have to be God and all of this. Well, so like I said before, he rode in a motorcycle club, and I wanted to be a part of that, and so I joined this motorcycle club and start riding with them, and things are going really good, man. I've been clean now going on 3 years, and I'm loving life. Like, I never thought it was possible that just by going to meetings and becoming a part of this cult that I could stay clean and sober. I didn't believe it, my family didn't believe it, and anybody who knew me, there was no chance in hell that they believed it, because I was that guy. And we had left the clubhouse and all went our separate ways, and I was headed home, and this little girl in a Chevy Tahoe left-handed me and hit me head on, and she drove up on top of me. I was pinned underneath her car, and they had to drag me out the whole 9 yards, throw me in an ambulance. I remember getting into the hospital. After that, I don't remember anything. And the next thing that I remember is I wake up and I'm in this room that has these big glass windows, and I've got all these tubes and all this shit coming out of me, and I'm like, what the hell is going on, and this lady comes up, and I'm not kidding you, she could not fit another earring in her ears, man. She had earrings lining her ears, tattoos everywhere, and I'm like, holy shit, this bike club is legit, man. They've got me in a warehouse taking care of me. This biker chick is like taking care of everything. I was in the hospital, and that chick was my doctor. And once I came to, and so this was 34 days later, once I came to, I started remembering things, and this is where I'll try not to get emotional, because this shit's so real for me that I realized that without this part of my story that I wouldn't be here today. But I started piecing things together, and that God that I didn't believe in, I sat on a mountain with him, and we talked, and we went through my life. and he just let me know that it wasn't my time. And so I get out of the hospital. I'm in there for another 17 days. I get out of the hospital, and I'm sitting at my house, and I'm processing all this stuff through my head. Like, was this real? Or did I make it up? Was it the drugs they had me on and whatever? And I called up my sponsor, and I said, man, we really need to talk. And so he came over, and I still can't hardly move. I've got a broken leg, collarbones. I'm pretty jacked up, but we sat down and we talked about this, and he hugged me, and he said, that was your spiritual awakening. And he said, this is the higher power that I've been talking to you about for 3 years. And what a blessing, man. What a blessing in my life that I found a higher power. I don't necessarily like that it came the way that it did, but I was so stubborn. I think that God was like, man, we got to have a talk, And so yeah, I latched on to my higher power like you wouldn't believe. And still to this day, I don't make a whole lot of decisions before talking to my higher power. I I sit on it for a bit and I wait for the answers, because for over 19 years it's worked. It's worked for me. And I share this all the time, that without my higher power and you people, man, I can't do this. I can't do this. um I'm running over, I know, but real quick, I'll share. I had been sober for about 10 years, and I go to meetings, and I live in a pretty small town. I go to meetings and I see the same old timers, the same newcomers, because they keep leaving and coming back. And I was like, I don't want to say that I got bored with the fellowship, but I got frustrated with the fellowship, And so at about 10 years, I thought I had it pretty much figured out. I mean, after 10 years, who needs to go to meetings, right? I mean, so I quit going to meetings, and I hadn't been to a meeting probably in, I don't know, close to a year. And I didn't even realize it, but I was starting to get crazy again. And I have an uncle who now he has like 35 years. But anyway, he's been close to me throughout all this process. And I just started getting crazy, not going to meetings. And I have a son who is one of us, but at this time, he was pretty young, and he gave me some shit, and we got in a fight, and my parents showed up, and long story short, I was going to kill them all. I mean, literally was homicidal and screaming and yelling, and had told my stepdad to come outside because I was going to beat him. And I don't know where my uncle came from, and he's just a little guy. And he came walking up my stairs, and he looked at me and he stuck his finger in my face and he said, "You shut your fucking mouth and get in my car." And like I told you, when I sat down with that first sponsor of mine, like a little kid with my head down, that's how I was with my uncle. I put my head down and I said, "Yes, sir." And we got in a car and we drove, and he explained to me the importance of going to meetings and why people with 10 years need to keep going to meetings. And the insanity started creeping back in, and I don't know that I was headed for a relapse at that point, but I was headed to prison. I know that, and then what am I going to tell the guys on the yard? I'm fucking sober and I'm still in prison? No, I can't do that shit. So I started going to meetings, and I've stayed going to meetings. And then through the pandemic shows up, can't go to meetings no more. And then you people showed up in my life, and Jim was the first one to show up in my life. And I don't know how he showed up, but I truly believe that, yeah, exactly. It led to this right here is what it led to. And I truly think that through the pandemic, the insanity would have kicked in full swing had I not found you people, had I not found these Zoom meetings and Instagram. I cannot even begin to tell you how important you guys have become in my life, and truly how much I love you guys. It has changed the game for me. I'm sorry, stinking Lincoln back there waving. But it's changed the game for me. it has got me fired up for recovery again. It's reminded me that we do this thing one day at a time, and we're stronger together. You know, next week I get to be with a couple of people on here that it's just amazing. It's blowing my mind, you know, that this right here is leading to so many other things for me. And it's because I chose to stay sober. You know, I chose to join your cult. And what a blessing. What a blessing it's been for me. You know, I am actually living the life that I used to lie about today. You know, I've been real busy with some stuff that I got going on with a business. And today I just was like, you know what, fuck it. Jumped on my dirt bike and took off. And when I got home, I was looking at everything and I thought, you know, I'm living the life that I used to lie about, man. I'm doing the things that I used to sit around the dope house and say I was gonna do. You know, and things are so good today, even when they're bad. You know, I get to go to a meeting and hang out with you guys, and you know, I'm still not real good about phone calls. You know, that's one thing I want to touch about. And there's another somebody in this room that understands what I'm saying, because I've set up a couple of phone calls and I get busy and I space it. And then he's 2 hours ahead of me. And then I'm like, oh, well, fuck, it's 10 o'clock at night. I can't call Mike now. You know, so, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm glad to be here tonight. Glad to be sober. And I truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. Thank you guys for saving my life, you know, because when I got here, man, I was a hopeless junkie. And I borrowed a little bit of hope from you guys until I got some for myself, you know. So anyway, thank you guys. Daphne, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love you guys.
Thank you so much, Marty. You actually had about 20 more minutes that you could have gone. We were giving you the whole hour, but man, thank you so much.